Hey, week in review time. Are you ready? Hello everyone. It's another week in review for me, from my point of view. I guess really not news, it's just what I've been doing in comics and what I've been looking at on YouTube and just in general what's been going on. But first things first, yesterday I got home and there was a package at my door. It's a lovely Christmas wrap and it's from Scott Farr. It's an act of kindness, so I kind of had a feeling maybe this was coming, but thanks, Scott, and I'm not going to open this to Christmas, so I'm hoping you weren't waiting to see. I know when I send stuff I get excited to see when someone opens it, but this is going to go on with everything else, and I will be doing a Christmas morning video, opening up anything that I got from the YouTube comic community and from my family, because my family knows I'm severely addicted to comic books and comic culture, so I'm sure a lot of my gifts will end up being comic themed. I did go out this week to a couple comic shops and I picked some stuff up, and you know it's fun for me this time of year to go out and buy stuff, because I do buy things for other people that are into comics like me, and I enjoy giving something to somebody I think a lot more than I do getting it myself. So it's a lot of fun picking that stuff up, either from my brother or my son or some of you out there. But here's some stuff I picked up in a random order, just good stuff, good clean books that I saw. Avengers 120, of course it's my favorite, 20 center. This is a really cool cover. He fought the Zodiac. 99, Avengers 99, another 20 center. Really cool cover. I like the way that they use the portal here, and then they show that, you know, a little bit of the color, and you can see him getting pulled in. Everyone's trying to save Hercules. This one I always wanted because I have 124, and I wanted the continuation of it. It is The Amazing Spider-Man 125. It's the Moonwolf. Or Man-Wolf, I'm sorry. It's J. Jonah Jameson's astronaut son. And then this is a second copy of this, but it was just too clean to pass up, because I really dig that outfit. I think that's what I'm going to wear this summer when I go to my first barbecue. I think it's awesome. Frankenstein 15. Love the monster books. These are just fun. They're inexpensive. I love the covers and they're fun to read. You get that Saturday morning matinee feel when you read those. Fantastic Four, 143. Again, I'm just stuck in that 20 cent period. And then this is giant size Fantastic Four number 6. Not to be confused with the other number 6, but it also has Annihilus in it and Franklin. So I haven't opened this up. Maybe it's a reprint. Maybe that's why it's so similar. Just funny, it's the same number. Cool cover. Anything with Annihilus on it, I get. This I picked up for somebody for Christmas. Punisher magazine. And it's just got some really awesome artwork in it. It's a Jim Lee cover. So if you look close there, I already signed it. I already signed it right there. So it's kind of cool. Very early on. Microchip looks very different in here than he did in the recent TV show on Netflix. I think these black and white magazines are by far the best way to look at the sequential art. It's so crisp and clean. Really, really cool. I'd love to see some of the modern stuff today in black and white, to see what that would look like, to see the effect coloration is had on it. They do a lot of shading and things like that they didn't do back then. They didn't have the capability with computers. And then I also picked up volumes 2 and 3 of Paper Girls. Really excited about this. I read part of the first one and I like it, so I liked it enough that I could tell where it was going. So I went ahead and grabbed these two. There are hard covers for it now, but I just like these little paper trades. I think they encompass a number of issues. It might be, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, something like that, but That's probably my favorite way to read now, I think, even more than digitally. And a couple other things. He had, one of the guys I went to had this promotional poster up for the Doomsday Clock storyline. There's 12 issues coming out in DC. I read the first one. It's pretty cool. I like that they're pacing it. It's going to be 12 issues, so you know what's going to happen. And it appears there's not going to be a lot of crossover stuff like in Marvel, so that's kind of neat too. But I just thought that was a cool thing to pick up. This artwork is really, really good. And that's a black and white version again. So, and then the other thing I picked up was this magazine, Comics Collector, and I used to read this a lot. It has so many cool things on it. You look at the back here, hot comics and hot prices, and they even have a little part in the bottom that says dealers, speculators. So that term isn't a new thing. It's been around forever, but I don't really remember seeing it back then. And it's one of those things where maybe you hear a new word and then you see a movie or you reread something and there's that word and you didn't remember seeing it back then, but it was always there. It's just you didn't know it. This is from 1985. It's the winter edition. And one thing that stuck out to me when I read it, which was really cool, is the $38,000 comic book. And I can remember back when this was on TV a couple times in the news and stuff, they talked about this. But Marvel Comics #1 sold for $38,000, and there's a whole article in here about it. And I just find that fascinating to me that at that point, that probably was the most valuable comic, or one of the most valuable comics out there, and everything else is just blown right by it. So it kind of makes me want to go and buy it. I tend to seem to go the opposite direction of the herd as far as collecting goes, but if you can, stop in your LCS. They usually have these underneath boxes, and I picked this one up for $1. And it's just a great read. It's full of awesome articles, just non-tainted stuff, you know. And then, of course, the other part that everyone used to get this for was the pages and pages of listings of what books are worth. You know, 10,000 up-to-date values, it says. Read it, read it, read it. So, pretty cool. Pretty cool. I went to Buffalo this past Sunday, and I have it in a hall if you want to check that out. I call it Lake Effect Hall because there was massive amounts of lake effect snow. And for those of you that aren't from the Great Lakes area, lake effect is when warmer, moist air comes across the lakes, Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, picks up all this moisture, and then as soon as it hits land, it gets cold and just dumps snow on us. So it's basically a snow-making machine. So the skiers around here love it because there's always usually fresh snow on the hills. But for us that drive in it every day, it's not cool, or if you have to shovel it, I'm sure the uptick of heart attacks is up right now because of people trying to shovel all that heavy snow. But it was a great trip. I went with a friend of mine. We always go to cons and stuff together. We work on comics together. If I get stuck and I can't fix something that's really like a really stubborn spine roll or something like that, I can go to him and he can either show me how to fix it, or a lot of times he'll just take it and it's amazing what he can do with his books and my books. Pretty much all the 9/8 that I've been able to get because I would clean them up and press them and do my best, and I'd give them to him, and it might have been like 9/6s, but then he just does little tweaks, and sure enough, they come back as 9/8. So it's kind of what our process now. I do my best, and then I hand them off to the expert. But that's going good. He's gone back to one of the places last night. He sent me a bunch of photos late. He bought another whole bunch of stuff, so good for him. I might go back, I'm not sure. The second place I definitely will go back to. There were so many boxes that we didn't get to, and I usually prefer to get the stuff once a dealer has priced it. I find it it's a lot easier to make a value judgment once you know, okay, here's his starting point, here's what I'm willing to pay for it, and see how far apart you are. If you hand a guy a stack of books like I did Sunday, and then he goes through and prices them, when you have over 100 books like I bought, you see the stacks on back there, it's hard to make that value judgment per issue. So, but I know I did really well on them. So that was all a good trip. And then, speaking of those books, when I laid everything out the next day on my grading table downstairs, and I looked at everything, it got me to thinking about, some of what I'm doing and what I'm collecting. And I speak often of the completist collector, and I found that, you know, even though they were older books, early bronze and late silver, basically 77 to 67 is kind of a sweet spot for me. I was looking at what I've been buying, and I've been trying to complete large runs, and I don't think I want to do that. So I've kind of, I guess, put the brakes on buying stuff for my personal collection. I will continue to get stuff to, you know, resell, and so that I can buy more stuff. But, you know, a big thing about it is I think it keeps you from getting the books you really want. And I think it's a practice what you preach kind of thing moment for me, where I was sitting there and I realized I don't want a lot of these books that are here. They're just more to handle. I just got rid of 20 long boxes. I don't want to end up with that again. And that's not to put anyone down that likes to collect that. Some people love volumes and volumes. They find comfort in knowing that they have all these collections. I used to have that and I get it. I just don't want to do that anymore. So I am going to do what I call a culling this weekend, and it's going to be Tinder-esque, where, you know, I hold the book, I look at it, swipe left, swipe right, and that depends if the book's fade, if I'm going to keep it or not. I do have them all digitally, so if I want to read them, I can go back and read them anytime I want, and I have obviously hundreds of books to handle and smell, or thousands of books actually. So I think I am going to go back and cull a lot of those out, and it does two things. One, it stops me from spending too much and not getting to the really, you know, good books that I want to get my hands on, like, you know, like a Fantastic Four 1 and Avengers 4, you know, really big books like that. But it also will allow me to sell those books that I don't care so much about. Let them get to somebody else that's going to love them, because I think that's a shame too, is you got a crypt full of books that don't get to ever see the light of day. You know, there's a lot of guys out there that have books that I have that would love to have them. So, you know, I bought them right. I can sell them, you know, at a super discount, and just blow them out and let other collectors get their hands on them. I think is kind of a cool thing. But then I take that and I can add it all together and get these other big books. So I think that's a good thing and a good way of looking at it for me. So it's just, you know, since I got back into comics in 2013, my first thing I did is I completed the Captain America run, volume 1 through 7. I have every single book. I have all of the little spin-off books that he had. And, you know, I even went so far as to get like Sergeant Fury 13 and you know, books like that where he appeared. There are a couple I still do want to get my hands on. Obviously, Strange Tales 114 is one I want. I can't remember, it's an early Fantastic Four. I think it's Captain America's second appearance where he's in their book. So that's one I'd like to get my hands on too. But for the most part, it's books that mean something to me. Either I love the cover art, I remember the story, I remember, you know, I refer to them as paper time machines. But some of that, you know, I have gone back a lot and rebought, you know, copies that are pristine and beautiful. But I don't think I want to do that anymore. I think I just want to keep my original landfill book, you know, and hang on to that. I don't think I need to have that pristine thing anymore. And it's funny, sometimes you don't realize that till you start getting this stuff. Like, I've recently bought a lot of books, 20 cent, 15, 12 cent books that I didn't have, and I didn't know that I'd ever have. And now that once you get them, it's more than just the chase is over. It's when you have it in your hand, you kind of make a value judgment. And I realize I don't know that I want those anymore. So, you know, that's where I'm headed with that. So, you know, and then that got me to thinking about YouTube as well, and, you know, how much time you spend on it. And it appears a lot of times there's a lot of factions and cliques and drama going on, and just kind of stuff going on. And I was talking to Reaper Tate about it, and the analogy that I thought of was the YouTube comic community reminds me of a lunchroom in middle school. You have all these tables, and you're walking in with your tray, and you tend to go with people that are like you or interest you in some way. And at the same time, there are other tables that, you know, if you sat down there, they don't want you sitting with them, or, you know, there's I think a lot of that stuff going on. So, you know, I think the big thing is more than just having a thick skin. It's not getting bent over things. You know, sometimes I'll hear people railing against, you know, slabbing books. I can understand that, but at the same time, I don't understand why people care. It's not your book. What do you care? You know, I can understand if you don't want to do it, but to look down on others that do is strange to me. And selling's another one that I hear a lot of people. If you're a seller, you're not a real collector. but to me, if no one sells, how are you going to buy? Obviously there's always going to be stores, but you want to free these books up. To have them just sit in collections forever just seems kind of weird. And then the other thing that I guess I don't understand is speculating and trying to predict by what's in the movies and who's in the movies. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. It's the analogy that I use is the Sunday morning football shows. I don't watch those because I just watch the games. So with the recent merger of Disney and Fox, I'm not going to worry about what's going to happen, what books are going to go up, and what movies are going to, TV shows, all that stuff. I'm just going to sit back and watch it. It's awesome theater for me to just look and see what's going on. So, but I've got a couple other things here I got to grab, and I'll be right back. After that short break, I was getting really dry-throated there, so I had to get something to drink. Probably because I was talking too much, but I guess just to kind of close the loop on that, between collecting and what you do on YouTube, whether you make videos, you don't make videos, you comment, you don't comment, and what you collect, you like the slab, you don't like the slab, you sell, you don't like to sell. I think you just got to be comfortable with what you do, and kind of sit back and take a minute and just think about, why am I collecting? Am I collecting to complete a run? Am I collecting to amass a large collection that I think will be worth something someday? Am I collecting to impress my buddies or people on YouTube? And none of that's wrong, but just make sure that you do what you set out to do and what you want to do, and don't do things what other people think. That's the long and short of it. Anyway, I got a couple recommendations, and one of them is kind of fun. It's not for everybody, I'll say that out loud, but it's a Christmas CD, and I couldn't find it on vinyl, but it reminds me of my grandparents' house. They had the old record player in the back room, and they'd put it on, and they had wired speakers around the house a little bit, the big old brown ones, and I can remember waiting for the weeks up to Christmas, laying there on the floor playing with Legos or whatever. And this particular album was on a lot. It's the Bonanza Christmas album. And one track in particular is completely horrible. It's Stan Blocker, the guy that played Hoss, singing Deck the Halls. And it is wonderfully horrible. So if you ever get a chance, grab this and listen to it. It's pretty good stuff. And a book that I've been reading, I think I talked about before. It's a survival handbook, and it's phenomenal. I thought I knew a lot about this stuff, and then I started reading this book, and it's incredible. I mean, it goes into great detail how to do things, and not that you ever need it, but you know what? Maybe you need to make a snare someday, and it goes into great detail on how to do all of this stuff. It's got first aid, it's got identifying animals, it's got so much stuff in it, and whether you ever need it or not, to me, it's pretty fascinating. So I'll hold it up again so you can see it. It's on Amazon, you can just go pick it up. Pretty inexpensive, or if you know somebody, it's Christmas, get it as a gift and give it to them. But that's my thoughts, and that's what I've been doing this week. I did watch The Walking Dead mid-season finale. I kind of feel about it like I do about the comic. I'm current on the comic book. I think it's, was it 173? 174, something like that. The comic book for me is just becoming like, it reminds me of like a 70s romance comic, the old love comics. I'm close, I think, to not reading it anymore. I don't know that they lost their focus or whatever. It's just, it doesn't seem to have that edge that it used to have. Maybe it's because everything else is caught up to it. I think the TV show, a lot can be said for that too. It does have a little bit of a Lost feel to it, where you can definitely feel like they're stretching it out to get to more seasons. And I don't know if that's Scott Gimple's writing, or if it's just the powers that be telling them, yeah, we want 10, 12 seasons, you got to stretch this out, because they're catching up really, really quickly to the comic storyline. So I don't know. I wasn't that impressed with it. No spoilers, obviously. The ending was okay, I guess. I will continue to watch it, but I think I'm definitely going to make a decision in February. I mean, or whenever it ends. It comes back February 25th, I think. So I'll watch that, and we'll see. We'll see. Star Wars comes out today. It's Friday. I'm sure some people saw it last night at midnight. I've never been a huge Star Wars guy. I'm sure a lot of you just clicked off. I actually like the old Star Trek better, and you know, I don't ever get into debates about why it's better or not. And it's like when I sometimes hear people arguing, like, you know, if the Hulk and Superman got in a fight, who would win? And you know, it goes back to the trying to predict what's going to happen in comic books and movies and things. I have never spent any time doing that. I just sit back and watch and let the creators handle that end of it, or and watch what happens. So, but try to stay warm out there. Or if you're in California, try to keep things wet so you don't get burnt, and keep collecting. I can't wait to see what videos everyone's got coming out this week, and keep reading.